Find the solution to the system by graphing. And I have two different equations. To graph these, I'm going to review a little bit here, this y equals mx plus b. Now, what do those letters represent? Well, the m value, okay, you'd think it'd be a name that starts with an m, but it's actually called the slope, right? You should have learned this. M is the slope. But what I like to say, to start with the letter M, slope is where you move. That number is going to tell you where you're moving, both in what direction, either going up or going down, and how steep the incline or decline is going to be, okay? And then the B value, also you'd think, okay, shouldn't that start with B? No, it's y-intercept. The y-intercept, okay? Now you see the y letter in there. Yes, it does have to do with the y values, okay? Well, what I like to say this too, it makes it a little easier to remember, is the b value is where you begin. That's where you begin your line. So that's what I like to say. M for move, B for begin, okay? But they do have these official names, the slope and the y-intercept, okay? So looking at the first equation here, y equals 1/2 x plus 4, okay? And so, like I always say, you got to begin with the b value, okay? Even though it's the second number in the equation. 4, positive 4. Now, what does that mean? So again, it's called the y-intercept. What that means is y, right? The y-axis is the up and down vertical axis, okay? And so 4, okay? 4, a positive 4 y-intercept means that's the spot on the y-axis that I'm going to start drawing my line. That's going to be my first point that I'm going to put in. So I go up to positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on my y-axis, and I make my point there, okay? So there's my beginning point. And that's all the b value does for you. It tells you where to begin, right? But you got to start somewhere, and that's what the b value does, okay? And now it's all about the m, the slope, okay? So the first thing you should notice is if it's positive or negative. And so you see this first one is positive 1/2, okay? Positive 1/2. And so another name I said earlier was rise over run. And what that helps you to realize is there's two directions on a graph, right? There's up and down, and then there's side to side. And the slope is nice because it accounts for both of those. It tells us how many spots we're going to move up or down, and then how many spots we're going to move left or right, okay? And so this 1/2 slope, what that tells me is the top number is rise, right? You can't rise side to side. Rising is usually up, but is up or down, okay? If it was negative, we would be thinking, okay, move down, but it's positive 1. So that's telling me, okay, from this starting point to get to my next point, I'm going to move up 1 spot, okay? But it's not just go up 1 spot and then make your new point. No, that wouldn't be right, because we have another direction, right? We have the run. And you can't run straight up or straight down. You run horizontal, side to side. So run, that's telling me how many spots I'm going to move right. Up 1, right 2 is where I'm going to move, okay? So I do that. I move from the starting point. I go up 1 spot, right 2 spots, and until I get there, until I go both directions, that's where my new point is, okay? And then what's nice is, right, it's where I move, right? When you're moving, you don't just usually just go 1 spot and then stop. You keep moving, right? Just like in life, you gotta keep moving. So up 1, right 2, new point. And then you do that again. You move from there, up 1, right 2, point. Up 1, right 2. You keep doing that over and over, right? Because that's what a line is. A line is a very consistent moving in the same direction. And so that's what we're doing. We're moving the same amount each time, that up 1, right 2, okay? So there is my line. Okay, now, again, this is a system. So we have another equation in here to account for this, y equals negative 2x minus 1, okay? So with this one, again, so we think, okay, what are my important values? Again, you begin with the b, so you look at that second value, negative 1. And a lot of kids miss that minus, okay? That is a negative 1, okay? Minus 1, okay? So that means, again, that's my y-intercept. So that's telling me, okay, for this second line, I'm going to begin at negative 1 on my y-axis. So negative 1 right there. Now, my m value now, right? My m value, negative 2. You might be saying here, oh, Mr. Jones, it's not a fraction. It's not telling me both directions. What do I do? Okay, and that's a good thing. If you observe that, that's a good thing. Okay, negative 2x. Okay, so negative 2 is still my slope, okay, for this second line. Okay, but I say this all the time, slopes, the m values, are the only time in math where we are like, yes, I want it to be a fraction. Every other time in math, it's like, oh, a fraction. But we love fractions with slope. We want it to be a fraction because that's how I account for both directions. Okay, if it's not a fraction, if I don't see it as a fraction, I don't know the run direction specifically. Okay, so you think, okay, what's a way that I could make negative 2 into a slope or a fraction? Sorry. Well, you think, okay, if I say negative 2 over 1, right? Because a fraction is another way of saying divided by, right? So negative 2 divided by 1, that would still be negative 2. So that doesn't change the number, right? All it does is make it into a fraction. So I know how many spots to move over. And that's actually a good rule of thumb. You guys should have learned this too. Anytime this is a whole number, you make it that number over 1. So this is my slope, negative 2 over 1. So again, you might be thinking, okay, negative 2, what does that mean? Well, again, it's negative. So negative actually means I move down, okay? Moving down 2, okay? And then over 1 means I move right 1. So that's my slope. That's where I'm moving, right? Down to right 1 from this starting point, okay? So down to right 1 point. Down to right 1. Keep doing that over and over. Keep on moving. There's my line. And you might look at that and you might say, oh, what the solution? Where do they intersect? I don't see them crossing each other at all, okay? And again, that's what we would look for, is where do these lines cross each other, okay? Well, again, I drew part of my line. We're just seeing a small picture of the actual line, right? The definition of a line is they go on forever. They go on in both directions forever. That's why we draw these little arrows at the end to imply that they go on forever. So this just means, okay, we might not see the intersection, but it doesn't mean they don't intersect. That just means we need to keep drawing more points, and that'll give me an idea, right? And you might be able to see, okay, they're coming together, they're starting to come together, but let's draw those points. Keep doing that, okay? So you might see, okay, I'm gonna run out of room over here, and I don't think they're gonna intersect over here. This looks like the spot I wanna focus on, okay? So if this is a straight line, right, it's gonna keep moving in the same direction, okay? So if I moved up 1 and right 2 to get here, so I think, okay, the opposite, right? If I wanted to get to this next point, I'm gonna reverse it, okay? Instead of up 1 and right 2, I'm gonna go down 1 and left 2, right? Wouldn't that be the next point kind of going to the left? Would be that down 1, left 2. And I'm able to do that, right? Because it's a line and it's the reversal of my slope. So it continues to move in the same direction. So that's totally fine. So let's keep doing that for this one too. The opposite, this one moved down to right 1, down to right 1. So if I reverse that, up 2, left 1. So up 2, left 1. My line's a little off there, but yeah, there's the next point. Still doesn't quite intersect with the red one though, right? That's what I want. So I do it again. Up 2, left 1. There we go, right there, right? That's what it's all about. Where do these lines intersect each other, okay? And so you see, there it is. There's where they cross each other, that point right there. And so what are the coordinates of that point? That would be the answer. So it would be when x is negative 2 and y is positive 3. So when x is negative 2, y is positive 3, that is my solution. That's where these lines cross each other. Okay, so I have one up here that I want you guys to try, okay? So this one, same direction, find the solution to the system by graphing, okay? I want you guys to graph these two equations. Again, they should form lines. And then tell me where the solution is. Tell me where where these lines cross each other, okay? So you can go ahead and pause the video and try that yourself. Okay, so hopefully you were able to find a solution to this system, okay? So I'm gonna show it real quick up here, okay? So this first equation, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. Okay, so again, I begin with my b value, okay, that positive 1 on the y-axis. Sorry, I should have these labeled. Positive 1, okay, on my y-axis. Okay, that's where I begin. Now, negative 2/3. Okay, again, what does that mean? Negative 2/3. Hopefully you moved down to right 3. Down 2 and right 3 is where I should move from that b value, that starting point. So from here, I move down 2, right 3, and that's where my next point is. Okay, and I keep moving in that same direction, right? Down 2, right 3, point. Down 2, right 3, make a point. And there we go. There is my line. Okay, my first line. All right. And now my second one. My second one. 2x minus 7. Y equals 2x minus 7. Okay. So again, my b value, negative 7. Hopefully it didn't start up here at positive 7. Right. That's a common mistake. Negative 7. So negative 7. I start down here. And where am I moving? 2. Right. What did I say? I said if it's not a fraction, you make it into a fraction by putting it over 1. Right. So this is telling me, okay, move up 2, right 1. Up 2 and right 1. So from here, I move up 2, right 1, point. Keep going. Up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. Hey, look at that. There it is. There's my intersection point right there, right? So they cross each other right here. And so you think, okay, what are the coordinates of that point? The coordinates of that point are 3 on the x, right? Positive 3, and negative 1 on the y, right? So that is my solution. There we go. Okay, I've got one final problem for you, and this one's a little bit special, okay? That's why I wanted to do it last here, okay? So we look at these same directions, but it says y equals x minus 4 and y equals x plus 3. So if I graph these puppies, y equals x minus 4, okay? So again, b, start with my b value, x minus 4. So I begin at negative 4 on the y-axis. There we go. And I'm moving. Wait a minute, I don't see a number there. What's the deal? It doesn't show it. It's kind of inconvenient that they don't show it, but yeah, that slope is going to be 1, okay? But also, you're thinking, oh, that's not a fraction. So it would be 1 over 1. Yeah, that's the slope. So what does that mean? Well, that's an easy one, right? Positive 1, I move up 1, and then I move right 1, okay? So there's going to be lots of points on here. Up 1, right 1, point. Up 1, right 1, point. Up 1, right 1, right? It's an easy one to count, right? Not a whole lot of counting here. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. That's the pattern. There we go. There's your line, okay? There's your first one. Your second one, y equals x plus 3, okay? So obviously that b value is different. So negative 4 was where the first one started. This one starts at positive 3. So I go positive 3 right here, okay? Now you look at this. Again, same thing, x plus 3. Doesn't really show an m value, but it's 1, right? Same thing, 1 over 1 is the slope for this one as well. So this one's also going to move, this one's going to move up 1 and right 1. So up 1, right 1, point. Up 1, right 1, point. Point, point. There's your points, and there's your line, okay? Now, you look at this, and you think, oh, geez, these lines don't intersect each other. Should I keep going? And you could keep going. You could make your graph bigger, but you'd be sitting there all day looking for an intersection because these are what are called parallel lines, right? Parallel lines. You should have learned that at this point, right? And so what's true of parallel lines? Parallel lines are lines that never cross each other. They're like the two yellow lines on the middle of the road, right? They never cross, okay? So parallel lines never cross each other. So what does that mean for my solution, right? Well, for a solution, I want to look for where they cross each other. What I'd say for this one is no solution. There's no solution here because, again, like I said, they're parallel and they never cross, okay? So there's a little lesson on systems of equations by graphing. I hope that made sense to you. Thanks for following.